It's not working, but I'm trying this new thing. It's called Rumble. Oh, it's going to work now for me. Hold on, everybody. It's very exciting. I think. Maybe. I think we did it. How exciting is that? All right. Welcome to the Write or Die Show on Sunday evening. And I just dropped my pencil. It's quite the time. I've dropped my pencil. I don't know if the other thing's working, but we're here, and that's what matters right now. And hopefully my brownies don't burn. My kid is supposed to take them out the oven, so we'll find out afterwards. Yay! So with us today we have Marie Slider Henriksen. Hello, how are you?
Hello, I'm doing good. I got a little sunburned yesterday, but I'm doing okay.
Where are you visiting us from?
So I am in Kaysville, Utah,
I have no idea where that is.
north of Salt Lake.
I'm not real good at geography, so
Just Utah.
I'll just smile and nod
Yeah.
because I have no idea where Utah is either. But I will smile and nod.
Okay.
I'm in Canada, so I don't know the states very well. I don't know Canada very well. Anyways, this is why I don't navigate. This is why I talk to people because navigation, we always end up going on side quests, not lost, just side quests. Yep, yep. So tell us a little bit about who Marie Slider Henriksen is.
Yeah. So I am a recovery and veteran advocate for trauma and addictions. I basically take phone calls and do like networking calls and stuff like that. And people will talk to me just about their own traumas and addictions. And what I do is I'm a collector of resources and people, and I connect people with resources that can help them out. So they'll call me and say, "Hey, I'm struggling with this." And I'll be like, "All right, well, here's my own experience because I have a lot of traumas in my background and different disabilities. And I've got a history of addictions and stuff. And so, what I do is I say, hey, here's my own experience, strength, and hope. And here's some resources that I have utilized. Here's some types of therapies that have worked for me. And by the way, here's some local resources that you can connect to help you out, especially, nonprofit organizations that are around. I highly specialize with veterans because I'm a veteran myself. And so I'm connected to a lot of the veteran community out here. With that, I also am a co host for a veteran podcast called Every Day is a Saturday USMC Veteran Coffee Talk with Brian and Marie. And so our focus is um, PTSD to advocacy, healing out loud. So we kind of focus a little bit on the journey of the military and before, but we mostly kind of focus on, how are you healing from your own traumas? How did you get back into the civilian world? We also have first responders on our show as well, and family members, and we have advocates that come on there as well. And
Wow.
with that, I also write. So I write my journey of recovery through trauma and addictions. I utilize poetry mostly for that.
Love that. We're
Yeah.
samesies.
Yep. And then I also just do like blogging, and I'm working on a few other books and some children's books and stuff like that. So that's kind of who I am today. I'm a huge advocate for spirituality and for just finding healing and recognizing that traumas and addictions don't have to be the end. There's always that comma there that you can keep going and you can find peace and keep moving forward. So that's kind of an
Wow.
overview of who I am today.
That is awesome. And I want to know everything and all the things and just spill the tea kind of thing. So, and I know, so before we actually got started, Marie was like, how long do we go? Because I can talk. And y'all know I can talk. So I was like, oh, this is going to be bad. Because if we both like to talk, then we'll never shut up. And then you get lots of us, which maybe is a good thing, but really it's a bad thing because then you're going to be tired. It'll be bedtime. Anyways, we probably will have to have her come back if that is what happens. So we'll see. We'll see. So I always just like to say, start your story wherever makes the most sense. And it sounds like you have a very big, long story. So wherever makes sense for you. And I am just going to interrupt you when I have questions.
Okay. So I won't go into all the details of my past. If you are interested in getting more details in my podcast, I started podcasting last year, and my co-host had me on to share my story, and then we spent 10 episodes breaking apart my story. And so if you want more
Wow.
details, go check out sliderbabe.com. You can access my podcast and you can
Uh,
get into the nitty-gritty of my story. So
I love that.
I'll just kind of do just a quick overview and then we can
Yes.
get into more of like what your podcast seems to be about writing because I got a lot
It is
that I could
not
talk about
about
with that.
writing. People think it's about writing. It is not about
But
writing.
you
It is
call it
about
Ride or
mental,
Die.
because it is about mental health, where writing helps you not die.
Oh, okay.
Hmm.
Well, that's a huge part of my story. So
Right?
I like
And
it.
that's most of it. So that is, I know it's a big misconception. And sometimes I'm like, oh, should I have named it that? But when you actually know what it means, it makes sense. But big misconception, it is about mental health.
Okay.
So
All
we have
right. Well, that's kind
lots
of
in
perfect
there.
because there's a lot there for me.
Exactly. So that's where we're gonna live, and then at the very end, then we'll talk about writing at the end. That's nah, it's over there.
Okay. So my story is long. There is many layers. I call myself a hoarder of experiences,
Oh, I
and
like that.
yeah, so I'm a hoarder of experiences and a hoarder of people. God saw fit to let me have many different experiences, which helps me in my advocacy. Like I don't have a whole lot of one thing, but I've a whole little about a whole lot of things. I don't know if that makes sense, but
I get that. Yes, I
yes,
do
I've
actually.
experienced a lot in my life. So, kind of starting out, I was born to addict alcoholic parents. I was in foster care for a few years. In foster care, I was hoarding food. I was dealing with um, some abandonment issues and stuff like that. During my foster care and into my teenage years, there were some sexual abuse. There was some sexual abuse that happened, and I started my addiction started really early. Again, the first part was food. It was I never felt like I could get enough, or and I also had just some unhealthy dynamics around me regarding food. So food addiction was my first thing, and then when I hit puberty and I started to gain weight, it turned into bulimia because I didn't want to gain the weight, and so it turned into bulimia. um, with some of the sexual stuff that was going on, I didn't know really how to handle it, and so self-harm quickly followed that, and then, weed and alcohol. And once I started drinking, that kind of took over kind of everything, and that became the intertwining in my entire life was the alcohol. I was I never really felt like I belonged anywhere. I never felt content. I became a chameleon to fit in. And when that didn't work, then I was a peacock to stand out because I had to be in control. Yeah. So I had to be in control of the attention that I was receiving. Either it was no attention and I was like, okay, I've got to fit in because I need them to accept me, and
Mm-hmm.
or it was they're not accepting me. Okay, fine. I'm going to be loud and obnoxious, you know.
Yeah, you go from one extreme to the other,
Yes.
trying to in essence always fit in, but yeah.
Yes. And so that kind of turned into, I was in a metal band for a little while and
Ooh, what did you play or did you sing?
I play keyboard and backup vocals.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. But I also, there was a lot of heaviness in my childhood and teenage years. And for many years, I held on to all of the heaviness and the negative, and I was full of anger and fear and resentments. But as I look back now, I'm 9 years sober now, and as I look back, thank you. I can see a lot of the joys that were in my childhood too. I was always so bubbly and I was friendly. I loved people. I had some really awesome experiences, especially some spiritual experiences, and I tried to I tried to be joyful through everything. But when I was in junior high, I kind of gave up. But I still was doing sports and I was in choir and I was still, trying to move forward and whatnot. But found myself, like getting in trouble at school and I would sneak out and I was with some friends that just weren't the best type of friends. And so I ended up, there was a whole conspiracy with my brother and my parents, and I wound up in Utah. So I grew up in Arizona, born in New
Okay.
York, lived in California, Pennsylvania for a little bit,
I know where
Arizona.
New York and Pennsylvania are.
Awesome.
I'm
Yeah.
following you.
Yes. And so California is way on the other side next to Arizona, and Utah is on top of Arizona. And so we're like way
Okay. Okay.
southwest of the states. Yeah. So I ended up coming to Utah, and wherever you go, there you are. And I ended up just finding the same type of friends. I was a bloomin' alcoholic and addict, and I ended up partying with some older guys and ended up getting raped. And they took my virginity. And at that point, I kind of lost all my self worth.
How old were
Now,
you?
I was 17.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a
Now,
baby.
huh?
Just a baby.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, around that time, is kind of, and the reason why I like the title of your show is because that's when I started writing was in high school. And
Yes.
I've talked about it in a few couple podcasts lately. And I had this teacher named Greg Park that was just phenomenal. He's a local author here in Utah, and he also just is a school teacher. And he gave me a voice in writing. I was always creative with music. My mom put me in
Okay.
choir when I was 12 because she's like, if you're going to sing, we're going to make you good at it. And so I was in choirs, for years. But 17 and 18 is when I started writing. And that was kind of where I got a voice. I couldn't really talk about what happened to me, but I
Yeah.
could write about the emotions with it. And that was kind of like the beginning stages where I started finding my voice.
Yeah. That's very interesting. So, I mean, you've got so much there. And everybody, I mean, yeah, we like to spill the tea, but if she's got 10 episodes, go listen to her show so she can dig deep over 10 episodes, like, obviously. Plus, share the love. But what I find so interesting is that you could write it out because I'm very similar that way. So I started more when I was about 13, 14, but it was the same thing. You can't talk about all of the BS that's going on. You have to find a different outlet. And even when you're young and you don't realize this is your outlet, because that's what I always say. I'm like, I didn't even know it was a coping strategy when I was doing it. And then I look back and go, oh, that was a really healthy coping strategy. Go me. Um, right? You find these outlets which can be bad, as you've said, but they can also be really good, some of them. So when you find that voice, and whether it's a talking voice or a writing voice, I love it. Um, I did that. It was all poetry. And you said you love the poetry thing. Yeah, same seas.
Yeah. Yeah, that was something that I didn't even realize that I needed, right? And I didn't realize how impactful it was until I got sober. Because when I got sober, that voice intensified. Because back then it was coming from a place of pain, and when I got sober, it turned into, yes, I have this pain, but here is this hope that I've received. And so then everything was kind of magnified. So between, 18, 17, and 18 when I started, and then 30, so like 15 years later or whatnot, you know, um, it just magnified. But the thing that was kind of sad is when I graduated high school, I kind of stopped writing. I
That is
kind of
sad.
I ran away when I got out of high school. I ran away into the military. And now the military was a great thing, right? But I ran away there. There's a difference between running away from something and running to something. When you're running
Very
away from
much.
something, you're living in fear. When you're running to something, you're living in faith. And it's a different mindset. And so
Yes.
what happened was I ran away from my trauma. I never faced it, and I joined the military. And then in the military, I became a professional alcoholic,
This is a
and
common theme that I've heard from other guests is that they use
yes.
the military as a way to escape from something else, but It doesn't always land quite the way you want.
Yeah. And then I kind of, because I was in this running mode and hiding and distracting mode, when I joined the military, I decided to marry the first soldier that said he loved me, you
Oh,
know?
okay.
And I was stationed in Germany. We got married out there, and he had his own stuff that happened, and our marriage fell apart. I'm not going to tell his story, but let's just say
Yeah.
he forgot he was married.
Oh
We'll say
no.
that.
Okay. Okay.
But so that was when I kind of really lost it. Like I throughout the military, I did write some music, but I never really had any healthy coping skills. Like I stopped writing. And so alcohol became my best friend. It was alcohol and then promiscuity. And it was, I
Hmm.
am seeking comfort in other ways. I'm hiding, I'm running. And so that became kind of my go-to for until I got sober 9 years ago. It was the alcohol and the weed and the pain pills and the promiscuity. I could not be happy by myself. I was miserable, and the military was awesome. It was great. I was in Germany. I got stationed. When I was stationed in Germany, I got to do a lot of traveling and
Oh,
seeing the
that's
world,
cool.
and it was great. But most of it was hungover or drunk, and
Mm.
so I lost a lot of those memories. And then you take a child that never addressed her trauma. She's now an alcoholic in the military, and now you throw her in Iraq, where she's getting traumatized even more.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, and so I did a year in Iraq, and I was a medic, and so I dealt with, some heavy stuff when I was there.
Yeah.
And I also got myself in a lot of trouble because I worked hard and I played harder. So I was
Mm.
seeing death, I was seeing destruction, and I didn't know how to cope with that. And so again, the alcohol and the promiscuity, that was how I coped. And then on top of that, we had a lot of unit corruption. There was a lot going
Oh.
on that just was not right. We had there was just a lot. People doing what they weren't supposed to do, and I was a part of that, you know. But even the higher ups, there was some guys that ended up going over a bridge because they were told some wrong things.
Oh
We
no.
had yeah, we had one of our really higher ups. He lied about a certain school that he went to, and he ended up getting kicked out. Like it was the weirdest thing. We also had a guy that I he was a friend of mine. He was a battle buddy of mine, and or so I thought. You learn how to trust the people you're with without knowing everything about them.
Hmm.
When we got back, we found out that he killed his child in a
Oh
very
my
inappropriate way, and we will leave
gosh.
that. And so there was a lot of trauma that was going on, that I was learning about and being in the middle of, you know.
Oh.
And so there was that layer that was going on, but also something that I didn't realize was my body was being destroyed. And after I had been in Iraq for 8 months, my hips gave out, and that led to a medical discharge. And
Wow.
so, I had already dealt with a lot of drama and trauma and thinking that my body's my worth. Well, now the military's like, "Yeah, you're broke. Now you have no worth. Get out of here." And
Ooh.
so my brain did not handle that very well. So when I got out of the military, that led to multiple years of addiction and just feeling sorry for myself. I ended up in a very codependent alcoholic relationship for a few years. I did go to school for a little while, and I got my
Okay.
associates in arts in
Oh,
general
okay.
education,
That's
and
cool.
yeah, and a general education curriculum certificate. And then I started going to school for a BS in applied mathematics because I fell in love with math, and I was trying to live, but I was trying to live, trying to move forward as I put chains on me, pulling me down as an alcoholic and just constantly drinking and just not facing my trauma.
Mhm.
And so that led me to some really low places. I ended up, me and my ex split up. I dropped out of school, took financial aid, moved out to Florida, which is clear on the other side of the
Yeah.
country. So you got California on one side in the west, southwest, and then Florida's all the way to the right in the
Yeah.
southeast. So I ended up going there, and my life was all about the alcohol and the promiscuity and weed and pain pills because I wasn't facing any of my physical
Yeah.
problems.
You're filling a hole, a void in your life with all of these other things instead of looking at
Yes.
what's happening.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I ended up hitting some pretty low bottoms. And finally, I almost got in a really bad accident. And God literally grabbed the wheel. Like I felt it rip out of my hand
Oh my.
that kept me from having a really bad accident that would have killed a friend and me. And so at that moment is when I knew I had to get sober. So the last 9 years have been full of so much. There were so many different layers that happened. So my sobriety date is January 17th of 2017.
Wow.
Yeah. And later that year, I was down in Florida and I decided to move up to North Carolina, which is a few
Okay.
states up north. So
Okay.
on the East Coast still, yeah.
Up. Okay.
So I ended up moving there. And when I got there, my physical and mental health just started crashing because I am no longer utilizing the promiscuity. I'm no longer using the alcohol. I'm no longer
You're
using the
not
the
using the
weed.
coping strategies that you've been
Yes.
using, even though they were not healthy. You're not using them anymore, and that was your only way.
Yes. And so since I wasn't using it all, I started really having, oh, and by the way, when I got sober, I became unemployable basically. Like because of my mental health and my physical health, I could no longer work.
Yeah.
And so that year it was really good because I spent in recovery and spirituality and stuff like that, but I wasn't really allowing it to sink in because I wasn't ready to. And
Yeah.
so that second year, I ended up in the psych unit for the first time. And oh, I need to back up just real quick. In my childhood, another layer that was going on with everything is I was diagnosed ADHD. And
Okay.
so I
That's not
have,
a fun one to deal with either.
yeah, so I have that going through all of this. Okay.
Oh.
So I ended up going into the psych unit. And so I've got my ADHD, I've got all of this past trauma stuff. And then they said, "Oh, hey, by the way, you're bipolar, you're borderline, and you have PTSD." I was like, "Oh, lovely."
And a lot
Yeah.
a lot of those all overlap with each other. So it can be
Well,
really hard to pinpoint what is, what isn't, or if medication is the right way to go,
mhm,
or what therapy, because really there's a lot of different. I told my kid this the other day because she didn't realize there's tons of different types of therapy. And especially when it comes to borderline and PTSD, they're so kind of different what you want to do. And it's like, which one do you need to do first? Because a lot of times with layers, I like your word, we're going to keep using it. A lot of time with layers, it's okay, in order to get kind of through them and break down them, we have to start with the right piece. So if you start with the wrong piece, it's like hitting your head on a brick wall. Whereas if you start with the right piece, maybe you have the right jackhammer to get through the wall instead to get to the next layer.
yes. And that's exactly what they had to do with me. And come to find out, actually, 5 years over the next 5 years, they realized, wait a second, like I finally did a trauma therapy 5 years later. And when I got through the trauma therapy, I started having adverse reactions because they put me on all sorts of meds. I
Yeah,
started having adverse reactions, and they're like, wait, you're not bipolar, you're borderline.
I
And
had a
so
feeling.
my chemicals had been messed up because of everything that I had done in my life and because of my emotions and stuff. Once I addressed them, the chemicals balanced out and they're like, yeah, this is an emotional problem. So I had to come off of all of those medications.
I had a feeling.
This and that was my second time in the psych unit was coming off all of those medications because I had become suicidal and I was having memory and cognitive problems. It was very interesting. But
To say
I
the least.
yeah, but I needed them for those 5 years to balance out. I needed them And over those 5 years too, between 2018 and 2022, you had COVID that hit. And there
Yep.
was there was a lot of different layers that happened in that. And in 2020, when I could no longer be around other people, I realized that a lot of the work that I did between 2017 and 2020 never internalized. I was doing
Mm.
it for other people. I was doing it for what you saw in me. I'm sober now. This is what you expect of me. I'm
Which
going to,
is very typical of somebody with borderline.
yes. And it's the same thing. Like, so I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter day Saints. Some people call Mormon, LDS, whatever you want to call it. I was raised in that. And that's another layer that's underlying all of this. I was raised in that, fell away because of all the addictions and stuff like that, and then started going back when I got sober. And it was the same thing. I had started making some changes in my life to go back to church and to go back to the temple. But in 2020, I realized I was only doing it because I'm like, well, now I'm in the church. This is what I have to do. And so then I started going back to old patterns of behavior.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, so then it took me a few more years for me to realize, hey, there are some changes that I actually want to make. And
Yeah.
there are things that I want to do to become a better person and to be active in my church and to continue moving forward. And so those 5 years were kind of getting off of a lot of the addictions,
Yes.
developing better coping skills, writing, getting my story out, finding my voice, doing my step work in the recovery rooms, getting back into my church, but also through all of this, eating, eating and eating and eating and eating and eating and eating and eating. And my food
uh,
addiction
yeah.
getting worse because
Yeah.
I allowed myself, and I will scream this in the rooftops. I've said this on other podcasts. If you are getting off other addictions, flip and eat. Who cares if you gain weight? Because that is what I did to keep me alive and to keep me safe and to keep me sober. And I ended up getting up to a 250 pounds. And
Wow.
yeah, and so I know that it wasn't the healthiest for my body, but it kept me alive and it kept me sober. So I ate because I didn't do the other addictions. And
Hmm.
so there was layers again.
Always.
So in 2022, when I finally did that trauma therapy, I started losing the weight. I don't need the food anymore. I'm actually genuinely making these changes. Go to the psych unit, end up getting a breast reduction for my back. And then my body didn't know how to handle it all. And
Mm.
I ended up, it tore my hips apart. My body started moving more
Oh.
than it was supposed to because it
Yeah.
didn't have the weight, it didn't have the muscles from the military, and my body structure has changed. I found out that I've got something called hypermobile Ehlers-Danlos syndrome.
Okay. Yep. Yep. I know what that is.
Yes. And
For
so
those who
for
don't know, though, of course, explain it.
yeah. Yeah, for those who don't know, my body makes a defective collagen, and so all of my connective tissue is falling apart. And so between my genetics, my drug and alcohol use, my military strain on my body and toxic exposure while I was in the military, and the weight that I put on my body and everything, all of this stuff triggered this genetic disorder that just started tearing apart my body. So I ended up getting hip replacements. I don't know if I can show you, but I brought my braces so I can show you guys. I wear
Ooh.
these on a regular basis. Can't really see them,
You,
but they
you can
attach to
sort.
my
You can see
shoe.
it, and then you can't, and then you can, and then you can't.
Yeah. But anyways, these are called KAFOs. They attach into my shoe. They go around. There's a rod that goes up the back of my ankle, and then it connects to my knees. And
Oh, I haven't
so
seen those ones before. That's cool.
yeah, yeah. So I have to wear those on a regular basis when I go out because my knees, ankles, and feet just kind of they collapse inwards, and so those
Oh,
braces
okay.
help. I also have my wrist. They're still trying to figure out what's going on, but there's a lot of damage in there. I've got arthritis and carpal tunnel and cysts and nerve damage and a lot of other
Mm-mm.
things. And it's like that for most of my joints. I have a lot of stuff. So 23 to 24, I ended up 2023 to 2024. I ended up in a care facility for 8 months. Got both of my hips replaced.
Wow. And you're young for that.
Yes,
Up here in
and
Canada, they just wouldn't have done it.
yeah, yeah. Well, and then you fast forward to now, and I am a month out from a hysterectomy. So I had
Been
to.
there, done that. Not fun. Get stool softeners. They'll tell you to do it, but like literally, yeah,
Mhm,
do that. Good.
yeah,
Find some good ones.
yeah. So I ended up having some prolapses that they really couldn't
Uh,
fix without the hysterectomy. And so that's the thing. It's just my connective tissue just doesn't hold well.
yeah.
And so there's probably going to be more surgeries in my future,
Mm-hmm.
but that is a big layer that's been going on, is finding that piece with a body that's falling apart. um
And that's got to be really hard for somebody who, like you said, was in the military, because that, I mean, you're tough, right? Like you're a tough person when you're there and whatever, and to have your body just sort of decide that it's just not gonna work anymore, that's gotta also play on your mental health pretty badly.
yeah, yeah, so there's actually multiple layers with that again, at some point I kind of asked God to let me recognize that my body wasn't my worth. When I was doing all of this work, mental health work, I kind of was just like, God, I need help recognizing that my body was my worth. And I'm not saying this happens to everyone, but
This is
all of
your
the
story.
disability, yeah, all of the disabilities started happening, and God was like, "Hey, you got to start trusting me more. You got to recognize that your body is not your worth." And so this has kind of been the challenge. It's helped me overcome a lot because I've had to go through many, many layers. So I ended
Hmm.
up I'm kind of fast forwarding because I'm missing some stuff from last year, but I'll go back to
Yeah,
that. But back in November, when I had planned the hysterectomy, because again, multiple layers,
of course.
I started not doing okay mentally because for so long growing up, I thought that my value as a woman was the ability to be a mother and the ability to have kids.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought, for years before, or for other reasons, my body was my worth because of sexuality. And then in the military, my body is my worth because I'm strong. And so there was many different layers, but this one in particular was so super heavy because I was like, who am I with a woman? Because I've never had kids. And my husband and I have made the decision that we're not going to. But in my mind, it was, well, now the choice is gone. I'd already made the decision, but
So, no,
now
keep
the
going.
choice, yeah, now the choice was going to be taken away. And so I did not know how to handle it. And for people who don't know, borderline personality and PTSD both manifest in something called dissociation. There is a difference between disassociation and dissociation. So, disassociation, I'm making this choice to go do something, either with a negative coping skill. I'm going to drink, I'm going to drug, I'm going to, have sex, whatever it is, or a positive one where I'm going to go right. I'm going to go for a walk. I'm going to go call someone. That's disassociation. Something is uncomfortable. I want to get out of the situation. Dissociation is when your brain does it for you and says, "Hey, I'm trying to protect you. I know that this is a scary emotion. I don't want you to feel it. So you're going to go away and I'm going to take control." So instead of logic brain taking over, emotion brain takes over. And that was happening to me. That had happened off and on, for
Hmm.
forever, but it started getting so bad that I started taking it out on my husband, and I became this like 12-year-old seeking validation, needing my husband to be my dad and fix me. And it started causing issues in the marriage, and I was like, I am not okay with that, and I moved out for a little bit.
Hmm.
I moved out. We started doing some couples therapy, and the therapist looked at me and she's like, "This is not going to work until you get your individual shit taken care of." And I was like, okay. So I ended up in the psych unit in December. And then I finally did a PTSD program in January. And so that PTSD program saved my life. And it was a complex PTSD program for veterans and active duty military. And it was amazing because I was able to go through those layers. And one of those layers was was a 7-page front and back letter to my body about the codependent relationship we've had with each other.
Oh,
Because yeah, it was
that I've
wonderful.
never tried.
Oh, it was wonderful. It was basically, I was like, "Hey body, I know I treated you bad. I treated you really bad with the drugs, the alcohol, the food, the promiscuity. I treated you bad. And now you are reacting with all of this stuff that's going on. We have to find a way, and I'm going to cry. We have to find a way to trust each other. I'm not going to hurt you anymore. And I know that you have a lot of stuff going on. And I know you're not trying to hurt me. You're just reacting. So can we find some peace? You know? And so that was this huge layer that I recently just went through. Is just like, I need to find a way to love my body, but not just love it, to trust it. And to realize that it's actually so much stronger than I think it was. Because like one of the triggers that happened was we were doing yoga, and there was a move that I refused to try. And the yoga instructor offered me another move. And I did that one, no problem. There was no issues at all. And I realized if I can do that, I could do the other one. Why was I so scared to do the other one? And it
Yeah.
was my body didn't trust that I could do it, and I didn't trust that my body could do it. And so over the last few months, even after, so that was in January. My hysterectomy was in March 26th. And
Oh,
over
wow. Recent.
the yeah, oh yeah. So like the month, the couple months before that, and then this month has been recognizing that my body can heal in different ways. It's not going to look the way that I want it to, but it is still strong, and I can
Mhm.
find peace and love and joy in my body still. And it's been fantastic to be able to go through that layer, you know.
Mhm.
Um, but I kind of fast forwarded through some of the stuff. So I just wanted to
That's
touch
okay.
base.
There is so much there that I love that you share because I mean, we have lots of people on the show, but there's always something different. And I think your story is very unique because I actually haven't had somebody really who's had Ehlers-Danlos before. I just know about it because my sister was tested for it. Um, and so it's interesting when you're talking about, especially when you're talking about the hysterectomy, because I almost cried. You almost made me cry. That's a hard thing to do because phew, I think we're almost going on 10 years now. Maybe we're getting pretty close. We're getting pretty close to that. Anyways, I had cervical cancer. So, ladies, my PSA to all of you, always go and get your regular physical that you need to get because I put it off because life, and then it didn't end very well. So, after I had mine, same with those feelings of, am I really a woman? And it's my husband and I mean, we already have two, but we made the same decision you guys did. He actually went and got not a hysterectomy, a vasectomy 2 years. I want to say 2 years beforehand. So the joke now that after I've a little bit come to terms with it, the joke is that haha, we're super super safe now.
Yeah. Same
But
here. Yeah.
right? So we had already decided, but when the choice is taken away, because I mean, technically, if we really wanted to, vasectomy, maybe we can reverse it, blow all the stupid things that go through your mind that really we weren't going to decide to have them. We had talked about it extensively and all the things. But when the choice is ripped away for reasons that are out of your control, it really hits different.
Yeah. And that's what I went through, because
Yeah.
I had gone through these layers in my addictions. I am so grateful that God saw fit not to make me a mom, because I could have been a mom 50 times over, right? And I am so grateful it didn't happen, because I would have repeated the same patterns that happened to me.
Yeah.
And I did not want to do that. So I was so grateful that that didn't happen. And then I was like, well, I'm not going to have a kid out of wedlock. Okay. And then before I was even married, it's like, well, I don't know if I want to have kids,
Mm-hmm.
because as I'm finding out about all of this genetic stuff that I have going on, it's like, I don't want to pass on these genes.
Right?
And
Yep.
then I don't want to pass on my addictions, and I don't want to pass on my generational trauma that I'm still trying to process through. And so there was
Mm-hmm.
those layers. And then it was like, look at this world. I don't want to raise a child in this world. Like mad props to you parents out there. Like, I don't know how y'all do it. This world
Me
is
neither.
flipping crazy. And
Mm-hmm.
so then there was that layer. And then it was, as my body started getting worse, it's like I couldn't carry a child.
Yeah.
I couldn't emotionally handle a child. I couldn't physically keep up with a child. And so I had made this decision, and then my husband and I got married. We got married actually while I was in the care facility between my hip replacements, actually.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, he had been my best friend for 6, 7 years. 6, 7. Anyways,
My
yeah. So
grandson loves that. I also have a grandson. He is currently 6. And
yeah.
so he's at the age of loving 6, 7.
Well, there you go. That's it. That's a shout out. I just saw something on Facebook about that the other or today, so that's why that was in my head.
Oh,
But
yeah.
anyways, so yeah, he had been my best friend. We got married, and before we got married, we made that discussion. It's
Yeah.
like, hey, we're not going to have kids. And so he had gotten a vasectomy, and then so it was like, okay, I know I'm not going to have kids, but after I had the hysterectomy, I had to really be honest with myself. And one of the reasons why it was so hard is I would picture myself, I would be standing in the shower and I would look down and imagine what it was like to have a miracle baby.
Hmm.
Because it's like, well, maybe God wants me to be a mom even if I don't want to. And I would literally like picture what that was like. And so then when I had the hysterectomy, it was like, oh my gosh, now that will never happen. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it was definitely layers of having to process through, it's okay. It's okay not to have that option anymore. And I'm a huge firm believer, in life after this. I believe, our church's belief is that idea that this is just temporary and that
Hmm.
we have a home that we'll go back to and we will be able to have children and we'll be able to continue moving forward. And so if God wants me to have kids, it will happen. And so I've been going through all of these layers of just finding that faith that I'm going to be okay.
Hmm.
And so yeah, so that is one of those big, huge layers of yes, layer is my word.
I love it. I love it. I love it because you do definitely have many, many of them. And
Yeah.
I think a lot of people out there, I think the majority of listeners are women, but we love you men too. Um, but that idea of your worth being wrapped up in potential motherhood is so ingrained in all of us, I think. So ingrained, whether you do go to church, whether you don't, like, because of TV, even just TV, you watch it and it's all the moms and who's the best sitcom mom or whatever. It's so ingrained. And so, yeah, I I really you hit an emotional chord with me when you're talking about that because that's exactly it. And I'm even though it's been for me, I think we're getting close to 10 years. We are. We're getting close to 10 years cancer free, which woohoo, let's celebrate.
Awesome.
But I'm still kind of dealing with that whole not having it. I do have to say though, this is my joke for anybody who's maybe still dealing with it is that if I had to have cancer, at least I have one where now I don't have to worry about when I go swimming every month. Just,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
I
fun.
gotta think of the benefits of it. That's all.
Yeah.
Um, but
And
that
that
is a
was
very
that
hard
was
one.
that was that was a decision that I had to go through too. It's like, okay, do I get a full hysterectomy or do I get a partial?
Yeah, I didn't have a
And
choice.
so yeah, so for me it was I had to evaluate. And so the
Hmm.
doctors are like, "Oh, you should keep your ovaries." But I had to go through some testing because my family, so on my biological father's side of the family, we come from a very Jewish Ashkenazi Jewish area.
Okay.
We come from Galicia, is what it was called, and so it's modern day Ukraine and Poland.
Okay.
And it was that right in that area there was a lot of Ashkenazi Jews, and with that they tend to carry the BRCA gene, which is very highly susceptibility to cancer. And
Oh,
so I
okay.
had to go through that testing just to see, hey, do I have the BRCA gene? Do I have this heritage?
Hmm.
And so it was negative. And so if it was positive, we were going to do a full hysterectomy just to be on the safe side. But it was
Yeah.
negative, so we just did the partial. So,
Hmm.
but that's another layer too. Like know your for those of you listening, know your family history. Kind of look back before you get the hysterectomy. Get the BRCA test because if you do have the BRCA gene sometimes it's better to just take everything just in case.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So many layers. So many layers.
Oh, yeah.
Um. Okay. So, like I said, everybody, what is the name of your show again, so people can go and listen to the 10-parter, so they can dig deeper because there's so much
Yeah.
there, and I mean, I want to kind of go and listen to it, because there's only so much time on this show.
Yeah. So you can go to sliderbabe.com, and the podcast is called Every Day's a Saturday, USMC Veteran Coffee Talk with Brian and Marie. And I just wanted to share with that last year that I kind of like jumped over. So last year was when my husband and I was feeling really good. My husband and I went on our honeymoon. We got back. I had gotten the prompting that I should write a book and or publish a book. So I compiled a book of my poetry, got that published, and decided to go on a podcast to share about it and just to share my story, which was the Every Day's a Saturday.
Ah,
Yes. And then
okay.
he asked me to come back to be the co-host. So then we started doing that podcasting. And then over last year is when I really got into the recovery advocacy, because I'm finally starting to feel better. Like I
Yeah.
finally have a name for all of my monsters. I'm borderline, I'm PTSD, and I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I finally have doctors taking me seriously. I finally have ways that I'm moving forward, and I'm newly married with a man who treats me well and is dealing with his own shit and doesn't put it on me, and I'm dealing with my shit and don't put it on him. And so last year became this like become like the name of my book is called More Me Than I Used to Be: A Journey to Freedom.
So I'm gonna ask you more question about that in a sec,
Yes.
but before we get there, um, again, there's so much that people can unpack, but go listen to the 10-parter. What is, because there's so much there, I'm gonna say three. What are your top three things that you either learned in therapy or like you find is the best coping strategies? You can't
So
say writing.
yeah, no, the number one thing is community. Number one
Mm,
thing is community. Community. We cannot do this shit by ourselves.
yeah.
Like in the military, we're taught to have a squad and have battle buddy. When we're younger, we're taught we have our family, and as an adult, when you're out on your own, you have to have community. That is number one. You have to find some sort of community, a recovery group, a nonprofit support group, a whatever, like social media groups, Discord groups, whatever it is, or yeah, just any kind of support groups that are out there, church, whatever it is, like we have to have community. We cannot do this
Yes.
ourselves. And we have to find a new family, because a lot of times those of us who dealt with trauma, like our actual family is not always safe. I've got some in
Exactly.
my family that are safe and some that are not, but I found my new family, and I've got many different layers. And so that's a big one. The second one is don't bullshit yourself. Okay. God can't heal who you're pretending to be, and neither will a doctor.
Oh,
And that is the complete and utter truth. If
yeah.
you are lying, all it's doing is hurting you. It's only hurting you. So you have to find a way to get rid of. If you're anything like me, I am a bullshitter. I am selectively honest. I will talk about this and tell you the truth about all this, so you don't ask me about this over here.
Yep.
I like to manipulate conversations. No, no, no. Let's talk over here. You try. No, no, no. Like here's this. Here's what's really going on.
Yeah,
And so
this is
that's what.
shiny. Let's talk about
Yes.
this shiny.
So that's what happened to me for years. When I got out, well, I've been using therapy since I was a child because I was in foster care and it was
Yeah.
required. And then in the military, and when I got out of the military. But I would talk to them about, certain traumas and this, that, and the other. But I wouldn't tell them, yeah, but I'm drinking and I'm drugging and I'm promiscuous, and when I was younger that I'm hurting myself. I wasn't talking about all this stuff. And so we're talking about this, and I could talk all day long about this, but I was not addressing this, and so I wasn't actually
Mm.
letting this stuff go. And so that's the other thing. So community and honesty. And the third thing is talk therapy is a decent tool. Okay? Talk therapy is okay. It is good to talk about stuff, but get into a directed therapy. Get into a directed therapy, dialectic behavioral therapy, cognitive
That's
processing
mine.
therapy, acceptance and commitment therapy, any of those, EMDR. Get into some sort of directed therapy, because the reality is it is too easy to fall into that bullshitting and the complacency. Oh, well, I'm talking about it, so I must be fine. I'm talking about it, so I must be fine. No, we need action. We have to take action. You have
Yes.
to, have to, have to. So in those directed therapies, they've got homework. They've got they've
So
got
much
tools for
homework.
you to use. They've got coping skills for you to practice and utilize. So those are my big things. Community, honesty, and directed therapy.
Those are fantastic. And yes, the dialectical, that was mine and so much homework. Oh my gosh. Every week she gave me so much homework and I'd come back, of course, with my little binder and when I'd go through the pages, she goes, "Wow, good job doing your homework." I'm like, "Well, I'm not paying you $200 an hour to not do my homework." You
Yeah.
are far too expensive to waste this time.
So I'm in my third bout of it right now. I did it twice when I first got sober, and then I'm in
Yep.
it again now. And the
Okay.
one that I'm in now is a complex or a comprehensive DBT. So I've got 1 day a week trauma therapy individual, 1 day a week skills therapy individual,
Wow.
and then 1 day a week is group skills therapy.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and then she also offers phone coaching. And
Yeah.
so I contact her and she's like, I won't process you through a trauma when you're in it. She's like, but I'll give you tools to utilize to help you. And
Yeah.
it's been wonderful.
Oh, that's fantastic. But yes, I highly recommend the dialectical if you've got some kind of trauma. I mean, there's lots of other good ones, but that one, yes,
Yes.
saved my life. Oh, and now I just threw my pen. I like to play with stuff and then I drop it, and then my dog's gonna get it and he's gonna eat it. It's gonna be a whole thing. Um, but yeah, those are fantastic. Now tell us about your book.
So I was telling you the title, right? More
Yes,
me than I used to be.
I
Because
really enjoy
I
that title.
I'm finally feeling like I'm more me.
Yeah.
There's one of my poems that talks about that idea of getting back to the picture that God created for me. Because he created, the idea is like we all are part of are a puzzle. We have a picture on this box that God has for us. But we like the one of my poems talks about how we try to force pictures into this puzzle. And like we're stealing
Mm.
pieces or we're getting rid of pieces and we try to force a picture of ourselves. But the
Yeah.
idea is that when you can finally start your healing, you're getting back to the box that is yours alone. And so
Mm.
I apologize. But so this is my book. And whoa,
There
there we
we
go.
go. Oh,
Yeah.
very pretty. Oh, I
Yeah.
love clouds and I am really into taking pictures of the sky right now. So,
Yeah. So the picture behind me, this is one that
yeah.
I took as well in San
Oh,
Diego. So
nice.
so the book is full of my poetry and my photography. And
That's so my last book that just came, well, yeah, the one that came out a year and a half or so ago, Thoughts of a Warrior, book of poetry with my photography of nature.
awesome. Awesome. If you don't mind, I would like to read a poem for you
Do
to,
it,
to
yeah.
kind of close us out type thing. So
Is there a
I
picture that goes along with it?
there's just random pictures. Like I don't have
Okay,
pictures
okay.
that specifically go. But
Okay.
before I do that, so one of I wrote this book. I'm working on more of them. I write continuously. Writing became my safety. And like I kind of watched one of your clips of a recent podcast that you did where you said that you don't journal. I
Oh,
journal. I
I
journal
know. So bad.
every day now. Okay. And now sometimes that journaling is just a talk to text and just saying, "Hey,
Okay.
this is how my day went." Sometimes it's just one line, "This is what I learned today," or "This is what I processed today."
See,
Some
I might do one line. I could maybe do a one
yes,
liner.
something.
That's
Like
less
my
stressful.
suggestion is just pen to paper, something, because it gets your juices flowing, and it helps you go back. Like for me, I literally go back and I do three types of journaling. I journal about just, hey, here's how my day went. And then the second one is here is spiritual experiences and personal revelations. And another one is here is my resentments and stuck points. And so
Ooh.
I write something every day because for me, it just helps me because this is where I found my voice. It gets it
Mm.
out of my head. So I'm not going round and round and round. And so I actually, if you're okay with it, I'm going to read two poems.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So one of the poems that I wrote in here, it's called Just Right. And so I thought it was perfect. And then since I published this poem, I wrote another one that's called Again, Just Right. So I just want to talk. So this just kind of goes into writing helps me to process through what I have going on and helps me share my story for other people. So this one is called Just Right. And I wrote it. I started writing it a long time ago and I refound it and finished it. So it was last year.
Oh.
So January is when I finished it. So it's called Just Right. I write because it sets me free. I write so others can see me. When pen hits paper, all is well. It's like I'm under quite a spell. It comes to me in bits and pieces. I find the words in the paper's creases. Sometimes I type them on a screen. The medium doesn't matter to set the scene. Getting the message out of my mind helps to loosen the chains that bind. The ones that try to strangle my voice, telling me I have no choice. That I must keep faith to myself. My words should never leave the shelf. They tell me that my message is false. Sometimes I get sick of dancing this waltz. It all just lies. It's all just lies to crush my spirit, to keep me small. I won't hear it. My voice was given by the one who sent to earth his holy son. When I listen with my heart, the words he slowly does impart. Often I write of fear and pain and show that hope does still remain. Writing gives me joy and peace. It's given me a great release, a place to share the deepest things that bind my mind as if with strings. A place for faith and dreams to bear so others may see and find strength to share their pain and love, faith and fears to also help others throughout the years. My hope is one day by using my voice, I may help others to have the choice to find their own so they can be free and feel God's love just like me. If I get stuck, the words hard to find, I search the corners of my mind. I find new words that mean the same. Original messages sometimes remain. Many times, however, if my heart is open, God changes things, his message to be spoken. I know I'm not perfect at sharing his light, yet I tell myself often, don't fear, just write. God opens the hearts of those who read. My words are often just a seed, a way for others to see his hand, how he has helped me heal and stand. After all my many falls, and show how he broke my many walls, the ones I built to keep others out. Now, as I move forward, I will gladly shout about the hope I get from above and the warmth of heavenly love. One day God will stop the internal fight. Until then, I'll continue to just write.
Oh, that was awesome.
Thank you. So that is my first one, and then I'm going to read you the second one. Okay. And I have to say, I told you earlier that I had a teacher who gave me my voice in writing, and
Yes.
and I recently went and saw him for the first time since high school, and I
Oh,
brought
wow.
him a book to say thank you for what he did.
Aw.
And I read him that Just Right poem, and he's like, I just feel like I just need to write and just something, pen to paper. And he's like, it's probably because I used to always tell you just right. And I was like, you're right.
Oh, that's
Because
funny.
that was his thing, is he's like, I don't care what you write, just put a pen to the paper and
Yeah.
just get something out there. And
Yeah.
so this is I'll read this one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this one I just finished in November.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, and so this one will be in my new book.
Okay.
And so it's called, Again, Just Right. Just right. The voice in my head screams as I pick up a pen. Just right. The paper calls to me every now and then. My passion for words fills up the page, though I don't know what will come. Most of the time, I write for me and not for everyone. Sometimes the words don't make sense the way that they are laid. Then I have to mix them up. Before I know it, a story is made. A parable may be the end result, a short fiction, or a poem. Sometimes it's just the thoughts I hear when I'm alone. Things that wind up on the page may be words out loud, not said. More often than not, these things I write will never even be read. I write them still, not focusing on the audience out there. Whenever I take time to write, it's the only time I feel bare. There's freedom when the pen starts going and when there is no filter. I sometimes even make up phrases like a wibble wobble tilter. It's it's crazy how a simple phrase can sum up all my thoughts. Like my brain feels like it's been invaded by millions of nanobots. I can word things like a child's voice that many can understand, or word them like a symphony sounding different without a band. Writing for days, I may never fully express myself. Or I can write a line or two, putting the page back on a shelf. If I get stuck yet want to write, I say a prayer inside. When the writing is inspired from the power from above, it tends to be riddled with hope and redeeming. Oh, I messed up. If I get stuck yet want to write, I say a prayer inside. Then a voice, quiet and strong, helps the fear subside. When the writing is inspired from the power from above, it tends to be riddled with hope and redeeming love. When those writings do get finished, I share them with care. I know sometimes my hopeful messages to others I must share. Writing calms my brain, organizing all my thoughts. If I keep them in my head, they feel like a bag of rocks. Sometimes I get overwhelmed. My brain starts to freeze. As I continue writing, my mind feels at ease. I'll say again, as before, if your brain's like mine, please continue to just write and you will be just fine. If no one ever reads a page and the story is for you, hopefully writing things can make you feel anew. To share or not to share, that will be your choice. At least for a brief moment, you gave yourself a voice.
Ooh, I love them. I love them both. I love them both.
Thank you.
That you could almost turn that one in. I mean, both of them, but that one specifically, you could almost turn that into a whole kids book all on its own to
Mhm.
like inspire. So you should do
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
I've got
yeah,
a couple that are turning into kids books. Something that I'm
love it.
working on is color your own emotions.
Oh, I
And
love it.
so what I'm doing is I'm writing some poems that I'm turning into kids books, and they're going to be coloring books, reusable
Oh,
coloring books.
love it. Love it. Love
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah, I've done like a draw your story type deal where it's, kind of like taking them through their life and I have a picture and then they have a picture. So I love it.
I like it.
All right. Well, we are over the hour, but whatever, it's fine. We had fun, and that's all that matters. So thank you everybody for joining us. If you didn't join us live, well, thanks for coming back and watching us again, or listening if you're just on a podcast. But watching is so much more fun. The expressions. Unless you're driving a car, then stick to the podcast, I suppose. Yeah, that would be better. So tune in on Tuesday. We will have another guest live at 4:30 Eastern. Be sure to check out the merch store. 10% of the proceeds goes back to the Canadian Mental Health Association. And remember, the only way to end the stigma of mental health is to speak openly and honestly.